Have you ever felt that rejection crushed your worth? What if I told you it's not the end, it's the beginning? Welcome to Stoic Wisdom, where we explore timeless truths from ancient minds. Today's video flips the narrative. Rejection isn't your enemy, it's your greatest teacher. In a world obsessed with approval, the Stoic path offers something radical: freedom from needing validation. We'll uncover why silence speaks louder than reaction, why clarity is born from stillness, and how rejection can sharpen your purpose, not destroy it. Whether you're healing from heartbreak, a missed opportunity, or self-doubt, this is your invitation to rise, not for revenge, but for growth. Stay until the end to learn how to transform rejection into the fuel that makes you unstoppable. Let's begin. Flip the truth. Rejection is an invitation to grow. What if the rejection you feared the most was actually the turning point your life needed? Not a failure, not a dead end, but a doorway. Most people run from rejection. They treat it like a verdict, a final judgment on their worth. But what if it was simply feedback from life itself? A signal that the path you were on was never meant for the person you are becoming. The Stoics didn't just endure rejection, they embraced it. To them, rejection wasn't personal. It was informative. It revealed where attachment still lived, where ego still spoke, where illusion still controlled perception. You see, rejection forces you to confront the parts of yourself still tied to approval, still seeking validation from others. That sting in your chest, that's not their fault. It's your desire being exposed. And in that space, if you're willing to look deeper, you'll find your freedom. Because real freedom begins where external control ends. The moment you stop needing someone else's, yes, you begin to hear your own. Rejection is life asking you, who are you without applause? Who are you when no one sees you? If your answer to that is stillness, clarity, commitment to values, then you are on the right path. When you stop chasing people, titles, outcomes, you create space. And in that space, your true direction reveals itself. So the next time rejection finds you in love, in career, in friendship, pause. Don't react. Reflect. Ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me about myself? What attachment is ready to be released? What strength is waiting to emerge? Rejection isn't the end of the road. It's the part of the journey that tests whether your path is built on attention or on intention. Those who pass the test don't just survive rejection. They rise from it wiser, freer, and more focused than ever. Cold reaction. When silence becomes the strongest response. The most powerful response to rejection is not argument, not explanation, not even indifference. It is silence. Silence is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the refusal to let someone else dictate your emotional climate. In a world that expects you to chase, to explain, to prove your worth, silence is rebellion. It says, I do not beg, I do not chase, I stand. Most people react because they feel they must. They rush to text back, to fix, to plead. But every reaction is a confession that the rejection affected them, that they were shaken, that their peace was dependent on someone else's attention. This is not Stoicism. Stoicism is strength without noise. It is choosing not to engage in drama that does not serve your growth. When someone pulls away, your silence says you are not a slave to their attention. It creates space. Space for them to think, space for you to heal, space for clarity to return. Because every message you do not send, every call you do not make, every word you withhold, these are not losses. They are boundaries, and boundaries are power. Silence shifts the dynamic. It removes you from the emotional tug-of-war and places you above the noise. Those who expected you to react will wonder why you did not. Those who thought they had control will start to feel its absence. And you will feel something rare inner stillness. But this silence is not passive. It is not defeat. It is not giving up. It is an active decision. You choose to respond not with noise, but with dignity. Not with explanation, but with elevation. You are not playing games. You are playing for your peace. And peace is not loud. It is earned. If your first instinct is to speak, pause. If you want to defend yourself, wait. Let silence become your practice. Because when silence becomes your habit, power becomes your presence. And no one can take that from you. You owe no one your peace. You owe no one your reaction. Your silence is not emptiness. It is your presence refined. Keep your mind steady as stone, cut off the loops of overthinking. Rejection rarely ends with the last word spoken. Long after the silence, your mind keeps talking. You replay the moment. You analyze every look, every pause, every sentence. You wonder if you said too much, too little, or the wrong thing entirely. This is the trap, not the rejection itself, but the obsession that follows it. The real danger is not that they walked away, but that you keep chasing them in your thoughts. Stoicism teaches that the only thing you ever truly own is your mind. And yet many willingly hand over that space to the very people who have rejected them. They allow ghosts to live rent-free in their heads. But your mind is sacred. It is the temple where your focus, purpose, and clarity reside. When you pollute it with obsessive loops, you poison your peace. Overthinking is not problem-solving. It is self-inflicted suffering. It gives you the illusion of control when in fact it keeps you stuck. The more you analyze what went wrong, the more power you give to the rejection. You reinforce the belief that their opinion defines you, but it never did, and it never will. There comes a moment when you must stop asking why and start deciding what now. What now will you focus on? What now will you build? What now deserves your attention? Because the moment you shift your focus, you reclaim your mind. Let go of the fantasy that one more thought will bring closure. Closure is not something they give you. It is something you give yourself. And it begins when you choose to stop feeding the loop. Each time your mind drifts back, gently pull it towards something real. A goal, a workout, a book, a breath. This is not about forgetting. It is about recentering, reclaiming your most valuable asset. The quiet strength of a Stoic is not that they feel nothing, but that they do not allow feeling to become fixation. You feel, you accept, you release. Do not waste your life rehearsing scenes that already ended. Direct your energy toward the story still being written, and write it with intention, not obsession. Become the one they'll regret letting go. The moment someone rejects you, it feels like a verdict, like they have declared your value and it came up short. But that is an illusion. Their decision reflects their perspective, not your potential. What they walked away from was not a finished version of you. It was a snapshot in time, and they mistook it for your entire story. Let them, because now you have a choice. You can chase them trying to convince them of your worth, or you can focus that same energy on becoming the person you were always meant to be. One path makes you smaller, the other sets you free. Stoicism does not teach us to seek revenge or prove ourselves to others. It teaches us to prove ourselves to ourselves, to let actions speak where words fall short. So do not post your progress to win them back. Do not build your strength so they will notice. Do it because you are worth the effort, because your life deserves your best, because excellence is its own reward. Growth is not about making them regret leaving. It is about making yourself grateful that they did. Their exit created space. Space you now fill with purpose, discipline, and drive. They saw you at a chapter. You are now writing the book. Focus on your health, your craft, your purpose. Wake up earlier. Train harder. Think deeper. Learn relentlessly. Not out of anger, but out of alignment with who you truly are. Because that alignment is rare. And rare becomes magnetic when you become so focused on your own path that their absence no longer stings you. And when your success is no longer tied to their validation, you are free. Let your life become so full, so rich that they cannot ignore your transformation. And when they look back, let them see not the one they rejected, but the one they could never hold. You owe it to yourself to grow beyond who you were when they left. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove that you were never limited by their vision of you. When silence becomes a luxury, there is a kind of silence that is not born from fear, nor from uncertainty, but from strength. It is the silence of someone who has nothing to prove, no one to chase, and nothing left to explain. In the noise of rejection, in the chaos of emotional reaction, this silence stands apart. It is not cold, but calm. Not empty, but full of presence. It is the silence of a person who knows their worth does not fluctuate with someone else's opinion. When you stop justifying your absence, your stillness becomes a form of luxury. Not everyone can afford to be silent. It requires self-possession, clarity, and a deep comfort with who you are when no one is watching. In a world obsessed with being seen, the ability to step back is power. The ability to let others wonder while you remain unbothered is rare. And rarity commands respect. This silence is not a strategy. It is not a game. It is a return to center. A reminder that you are allowed to hold space for yourself without performing. You are allowed to rest, to regroup, to rebuild without making announcements. The less you explain, the more weight your presence carries. Let them scroll. Let them wonder. Let them create stories. You are not responsible for what others imagine when you choose peace over noise. You are responsible only for protecting the clarity you fought so hard to earn. That clarity requires silence. That silence is not a void. It is where your transformation is happening, unseen, unhurried, and uninterrupted. There will be those who mistake your silence for weakness. Let them. There will be those who expect an explanation. Give none, because if you must explain your growth, it is not growth. If you must justify your peace, it is not peace. Real confidence does not need an audience. True healing does not need applause. Let your silence be a sanctuary. Let your absence be a statement. not of loss, but of evolution. And when the time is right, re-emerge not to prove anything, but simply to continue becoming who you were always meant to be. Level up the game when you stop chasing everything starts coming to you. There is a shift that happens when you stop seeking validation. A quiet turning point where your energy no longer flows outward in pursuit of attention, but inward in pursuit of excellence. When you stop chasing, you start building. And what you build begins to attract everything you once thought you had to beg for. Chasing is exhausting because it places your sense of worth in someone else's hands. It says you are only valuable if they notice, if they respond, if they stay. But when you level up, you stop asking others to see your value and start living in a way that makes it undeniable. This is not about pretending you do not care. It is about caring so deeply about your own path that their presence or absence no longer controls your direction. When you rise in your career, strengthen your body, deepen your mind, you create a gravitational pull. People feel it, not because you seek attention, but because you embody purpose. And purpose is magnetic. High-value individuals are not loud. They do not need to announce their worth. It speaks through their discipline, through the circles they build, through the energy they carry. When you surround yourself with people who live with intention, you rise with them. You become part of a different conversation, one where rejection no longer matters because your worth was never dependent on acceptance. Instead of asking why they pulled away, ask yourself, what am I building? What community am I contributing to? What legacy am I shaping? These questions redirect your focus from reaction to creation, from insecurity to clarity. When you invest in your growth, you stop competing. There is no race, only refinement. You realize that nothing you lost was ever meant to stay small with you. And the more you elevate, the more you attract what aligns with your highest self. So stop chasing what is running. Start creating what lasts. Build the kind of life that makes attention irrelevant. Because when you no longer need it, that is when it comes to you. Armor your heart. Don't let anyone see your weakness. Not every wound needs to be shared. Not every struggle needs an audience. When you are rejected, when something breaks inside you, the instinct to speak, to seek sympathy, to show your pain is strong. But that instinct, while human, is not always helpful. Stoicism teaches that power is found not in exposure, but in restraint. To bleed in silence is not weakness, it is discipline. In the moments after rejection, your emotions are loud. Your pride is bruised. Your ego wants to be seen and validated. But healing does not happen in noise. It happens in quiet where dignity can breathe. When you let everyone see your suffering, you give them power. Power over how you are perceived, power over your narrative, and sometimes even power over your healing. You do not owe anyone a performance of your pain. You owe yourself protection. To armor your heart is not to harden it, but to guard it. It means knowing which parts of your experience are sacred and which ones deserve privacy. Silence can be a sanctuary. Stillness can be a shield. This does not mean you must suppress everything. It means you choose carefully where and with whom you share. You speak not from impulse, but from clarity. Not to gain pity, but to gain strength. Because true strength is not loud. It does not demand to be seen. It stands quietly unshaken. Let people wonder how you stayed so calm. Let them guess how you healed so fast. Let them imagine the weight you carried without ever showing them. That mystery becomes your power. That control becomes your peace. Rejection is temporary. Your response can be eternal. Choose the response that honors your worth. Choose silence over spectacle. Choose strength over sympathy. Shift instead of collapse. Every rejection is a guiding signal. Rejection is not the end. It is a signpost. It is life redirecting you, not punishing you. When something or someone says no, it is not the closing of a door, but the clearing of a path. One you were too focused to notice before. The Stoics believed that the obstacle is the way, not despite it, but because of it. What blocks you now may be protecting you from something unworthy. What you lost may be the very weight you were never meant to carry. Rejection invites you to ask, what is this moment trying to show me? What deeper alignment is possible now that this has been removed? The pain of rejection often comes from the illusion that your path was fixed, that what you wanted was meant for you. But life is not linear. It unfolds in directions we never planned. What feels like collapse is often the groundbreaking open to let something new grow. To shift is not to give up. It is to adjust with intention. It is to step back, reassess, and choose a path that honors who you are becoming. This shift requires courage because it demands trust. Trust that what left was not meant to stay. Trust that clarity comes not before rejection, but after it. Instead of seeing rejection as failure, see it as editing. Life removes something that no longer fit your story. Now you have the chance to rewrite, not to erase the past, but to refine the future. There is no power in clinging to what left. There is wisdom in moving toward what aligns. Let the rejection turn you, not break you. Let it sharpen your direction, not shatter your spirit. And when you look back, you will see it not as a wound, but as a sign, one that pointed you to exactly where you needed to go. Live by your values. Don't let rejection derail you from your chosen path. When rejection hits, it tempts you to abandon your path. It whispers that you should change who you are to be more accepted, more liked, more chosen. But the Stoic path is not about being chosen. It is about choosing what matters, choosing what is right, choosing to stay true to yourself even when the world says no. Your values are not negotiable. They are not decorations to wear when convenient. They are anchors. In moments of rejection, they keep you grounded. They remind you that your worth was never tied to another person's approval. You are not here to fit in. You are here to live with meaning. To live by your values means you walk a line that is often quiet, sometimes lonely, but always clear. When others stray or shift, you remain, not because it is easy, but because it is right. You don't chase trends. You don't mold yourself for validation. You act from principle. You endure with integrity. Rejection then becomes a test, not of your appeal, but of your alignment. Will you compromise who you are for comfort? Or will you remain steady, guided by a compass no one else can see? There is strength in conviction. There is peace in consistency. And there is deep freedom in knowing that your life is not dictated by approval, but directed by intention. So when rejection comes, as it always does, ask yourself, not what you lost, but what you kept. Did you keep your character, your purpose, your clarity? If the answer is yes, then you have not lost anything at all. Let your values be the fire that lights your way. Let rejection pass through you without shaking the foundation you stand on. Because when the dust settles, what remains is what truly matters. And what remains is who you truly are. Inner freedom when you no longer need anyone's approval. The greatest kind of freedom is not external. It is not about time or money or travel. It is the freedom to be fully yourself without needing permission, without needing applause, without needing to be chosen. That kind of freedom lives inside you, and rejection is what reveals whether you truly have it. As long as your sense of peace is tied to other people's responses, you are not free. If you need them to say yes for you to feel worthy, you are still bound. But when you stop needing approval to feel whole, you unlock a different life. One where your joy is not conditional. One where your value is not rented from others, but owned by you. Inner freedom is not loud. It is not flashy. It shows up in the quiet moments, when you walk away without bitterness, when you let go without explanation, when you live each day not to impress, but to be in alignment with what you believe. Rejection is not a threat to inner freedom. It is the test of it. Can you still choose peace when someone denies you? Can you remain centered when someone walks away? When you stop asking for permission to be okay, you begin to understand what real strength feels like. This freedom gives you clarity. You no longer ask why they did not choose you. You ask whether you would choose yourself again. You become less reactive and more intentional, less dependent and more directed. The noise fades. The pressure lifts. You begin to live not for their approval, but from your essence. And that changes everything. Because the moment you stop needing someone else to make you feel worthy, no one can ever take that worth away again. Rejection is not your enemy. It is a mirror, a teacher, a gate. You can run from it or you can rise through it. The Stoic path is not about avoiding pain, but about facing it with purpose. Every no you hear is not the end of your worth. It is the beginning of your wisdom. Choose growth. Choose clarity. Choose freedom. Always.